Connecticut. And how you guys doing today? We are having us a great and welcome Friday. Kind of hot outside. Let me go ahead here and just get my live started. Just bear with me just a second here. I done put Joy in it right. Okay, there we go. Ha. And what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? We are today having us a great little show. And, of course, I got my main man here. He is still here, hanging out with us here in Little Rock. It's my homeboy, Mr. Head Sanford. How you doing there, bro? What's going on there, bro?
What's up?
What's going on? How you doing?
I head back to Charlotte next week.
You heading back next week?
Yep.
So you're not going to, stay with us till next Friday show, nothing like that?
Nah, I can't.
Man.
I got to get back home.
You're going to get back home? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we thankful we had you here for the month.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Hopefully you can join us. Hopefully we go. Well, that's gonna be wishful thinking. And not send your wife. She can go and represent for you for the picnic.
Okay.
She can go and bring you home a burger. So, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We had us a great and wild live last night. That was wild, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What happened when you let black
It was wild, boy. Oof.
I mean, you see what happens when you let black folks take over? What's up, Ron? How you doing? You see what happens when you let black folks take over your life? I tell you, it's hard to get good help around here these days.
Yeah.
And we, on Thursday night we do cocktails with Deacon and Django, and that's where we kind of go unfiltered and stuff we can't say on the air on the radio. And today we are going to be talking about the age of outrage, the golden age of outrage, and this is going to be kind of interesting because. I thought we were going to talk about bald-headed. No, we're not going to talk about that today. We talked about that last night. So, the golden age of outrage has been, it's been permeating in the news this week. It's really funny how the news cycle works. And I think even our illustrious statement, let me go and take a shout out to him right quick. The angry black man. Look at him. He got the Birmingham Black Barons. Was that a black NFL Negro League team there? Today?
Good morning, and not NFL, but Major League Baseball.
Was that Negro League?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I know one NFL. I ain't never heard of them.
Yeah.
They said it had to be Negro League.
Yeah, I went to the Negro League Baseball Museum last weekend.
The Black Man, Birmingham, boy.
In Kansas City. By the way, if you're ever there, you need to check it out. It is a fantastic museum.
And that's where it's located in Birmingham?
No, Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City. Okay, thank God, because you don't want to go to Birmingham.
And also that's where jazz took place or began, allegedly on 18th and Vine. So it's a great place.
So it's not in. So New Orleans doesn't get the accolades. I thought jazz supposed to begin in New Orleans.
They credit the jazz beginning on 18th and Vine in Kansas City.
In Kansas City.
Right.
But there's two things Kansas City can be thankful for: barbecue, its own type of. I'm sorry, did I touch your monitor there? Black folks, give us some new equipment. I'm going to give JC some new equipment. So that's what we can credit Kansas City with is barbecue and jazz, huh?
Yeah, and I went to Gates Barbecue, by the way, and I brought back some barbecue sauce, but it's not as good as mine. It's not as good as the Rib Rub.
Of course not.
But it's good. Don't get me wrong.
No.
And enjoyed, in fact, ate at Gates twice, so that tells you how much I enjoyed it.
So the portions of the meat was pretty good, huh?
Oh yeah, it's they hook you up at Gates.
They hook you up. Yeah, they hook you up.
Black-owned business too, so that made it even better.
Well known, well established in Kansas City. Have you ever been to Gates Head Sanford?
No, I never been.
Oh, okay. You gotta go if you ever.
Have you ever been to Kansas City?
Yeah, I've been to Kansas City
many
years ago though.
Okay.
Yeah. You gotta go there, bro. That's some good vittles right there.
Yeah, it's a nice city. It really is.
Yeah, it's a nice city.
It's a lot of us there. As a matter of fact, people don't realize that during the Great Migration, a lot of blacks, after they were released from slavery, migrated to Kansas City.
Yep,
So it's a huge black population there. So interesting.
Mm-hmm. So today we're talking about it, and I know, Dave, that you kind of alluded to this in one of your Black Focus shows. We're talking about my muscles on camera there. We're going to talk about the age of outrage. There's been so much vitriol at this young lady, Haley Berry, I guess it's Halle Bailey, but you know everybody. I just want to get her separated from the actress, the of bigger fame, Halle Berry. But Halle Berry, what's up, Paul? What's going on, bro? She's been basically selected for a role for upcoming Disney, was it The Little Mermaid, if I'm correct. And boy, talking about the ass hitting the proverbial fan. What's up, Avery? Okay, this phone gonna behave today. See, last night I couldn't even keep it up, but we're gonna. Okay, there we go. And I don't know, Head 7, have you been hearing about that?
No, I haven't heard anything about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? You been in the cave the last month, bro?
Nah,
Yeah.
it just ain't been on Facebook. You know, most news hit Facebook, so.
Yeah, that's true. And I know, Dave, I know you talked about it briefly on Black Focus about why these people are so supposedly outraged.
They're racist.
Oh, of course they are. And why people are so outraged about, you know, and see, here's the problem. See, they created a Facebook group called Christians Against, was it Halle Berry playing Ariel or something like that? And when I talk about, there was, of course, it was a group of white people, but there were actually some people of color in there. And when I say they threw out every racist meme they could find to depict this young lady being selected for this movie, it's pathetic. And now let's go back.
You said this was a Christian group?
No, that's what I'm saying. Let's read that. Let's go back. Let's rewind that again. The group is Christians, but people that get ready to get cussed out for calling my phone while I'm on the show. See what I'm saying? I tell you. Anyway, that group, again, is named Christians Against Ariel being played by Halle Bailey.
Let me just interject something real fast. How can a slave and a master serve the same God? Then both of them expect their prayers to be answered by that very same God. Okay, you can continue.
See what I'm saying? See, here I'm already going to get the sweat beating up on his head in about 5 seconds. So let me just lead this.
You did say it was Christian, right?
Huh?
You did say it was a Christian group, right?
Well, that's what they claim. I don't know if they're a Christian group at all.
That's
what
why
they
I just
claim.
read that.
But they say Christians against Ariel being played by Halle Bailey.
So why are they so upset that this?
Hey, Lynn, how you doing?
I've never seen Little Mermaid. I'm probably gonna see it now just to spend.
Yeah, I'm
money,
just gonna see it now just to piss them off.
Just to support the sister who's playing it, but.
And piss them off.
I mean, what's the big deal? I mean,
okay.
I'm not getting it.
Let's talk about the big deal. Let me tell you about the age of fake outrage. Because Black Coons, I'm coming for y'all today. Sam Bo Conservatives, it's your day. Your day is every day with me. Remember when, I don't know how many of you guys are Star Wars geeks I am. I grew up on it. And they did the next trilogy, which the first one was The Force Awakens. Okay? And then they had this black English actor named Steve Bodega or Sam Bodega. He played a black stormtrooper. Okay? And it shows in the movie, and for those of you guys, hey Pedro, what's going on? Right, vote for Pedro for 2020. We're gonna get him in there, get Trump out of there. He played a black stormtrooper, and I remember when I saw the initial trailer, and because in Star Wars, if you've ever watched them, you've never seen stormtroopers ever take their helmet off, except in the prequel when they were clones. So you've never seen a human.
Well, you've actually never seen any black people in the future.
Right, you've
either,
never seen people in the suits, period. You've seen a person of color in the suits when they were clone troopers.
I think the only black person in the future that I can remember was Yaphet Kotto in Aliens, the first one, Alien.
Right.
And he got 8.
Yeah, he got killed.
And then
Trying to say the white woman.
Billy D. Williams was in Star Wars.
As Lando Calrissian.
As Lando Calrissian, but he was stereotypical in.
He was a pimp.
He was a pimp, exactly.
And he still, that boy a pimp, boy. I'm
just saying.
Go get your pimp hand down.
So part of that is that the and ironically, what's his name who made Star Wars?
George Lucas.
George Lucas. You know, he's married to
a black woman.
he's married to Melanie Hobson,
Yeah.
who is one of the preeminent black economists in the country. So a lot of that emanated from they were getting a lot of criticism as they continued to make these movies in the future.
Right.
Even if you remember Back to the Future, which was a popular movie,
Right.
when he went forward into the United States, there were no black people in that movie, except for when he went back
Right.
and there was a band playing. Okay.
Oh, you
So-
entertained us again.
So exactly, that's my point.
Shoe shuffling.
So that's part
feet
of
shuffling.
why
Right.
he ended up being in that movie.
Right.
That's the side story to that. But anyway, the racists did come out of the closet.
Right, the racists came out
yeah.
the closet, but with Daniel, that's his name, Daniel Boyega. He's a black, and you know, I thought he was a black American. He's a black Britishman. He came out as a stormtrooper, and you know, when you first see the trailer before you watch the movie, you thought it was just somebody had stolen a stormtrooper's outfit because, you know, naturally, you're right. Star Wars is a diverse universe, aliens and creatures and Jabba the Hutt and all this old nonsense. And
You had everything but a black
but
person.
everything but a black person, except one
Right.
token black, which was Lando Calrissian.
Yeah.
And then when they did Jar Jar Binks, he was a buffoon. So
What about Billy D. Williams? Wasn't he in one? Billy
Yeah,
D.
that was Lando
so you're not a
Calrissian.
geek, you just be quiet.
Okay.
he was, you know. And when they did the Solo movie, they did a young Billy D. Williams played by Donnie Glover.
Oh,
But
okay.
think about it. Think about it. Any science fiction movie you've seen,
Right.
how many black people have been in them?
One or two. It's always one or
So
two.
like a horror
Like
movie,
Star
it's like
Trek.
one or two.
Yeah.
You know, well, Star Trek obviously.
Had your horror.
Let's take that
Right.
back.
Okay.
Discount Star Trek.
Okay.
Because Star Trek has always had he had Uhura in it, Nichelle Nichols in that.
Right.
That started back in the '60s.
Right.
Uh-huh.
But other than Star Trek,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't
So
think of one. I think Alien came out in '80. I'm even thinking about the slasher movies.
Yeah. There's always
There was
token
not a black. Well, it wasn't even a black person in.
Wasn't a black. Well, that's fine.
When
you know,
Jason came out, and remember, because the jokes started coming out where, you know, the reason they don't have black folks in those
we ain't
movies
gonna hang
is because
around.
black folks gonna be running, so
Right.
Yeah.
they weren't in those movies.
Right, until Jason 5, they had Dudley. And
Exactly.
As soon as he saw Jason, he rolled. He did.
Yeah.
I remember
Right.
when I was 15 and I saw the movie in the theater. As soon as Jason popped out, when I
Halloween,
said dude
there
was gone,
wasn't
he was
in
gone.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was gone.
So I'm just saying. So that's part of this backlash
Right.
is that they haven't been putting black people in future style movies, which
Science
is
fiction movies.
which
right.
is kind of crazy. But and I'm even thinking when I saw the last War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, I don't remember
I don't
seeing any
remember
black
seeing
people in
folks
there.
But that's okay. White
But
folks-
anyway, I'm
white
getting
folks
off
getting
track.
eliminated off. Oh, but anyway,
I'm getting off
all
track.
I'm saying is, and this is where I'm trying to break it down for you guys at, is that Daniel Boyega, he started as a stormtrooper. Okay, I thought it was somebody had stolen because you've never seen a stormtrooper, black stormtrooper, and you would never really assume by the English accents and stuff like that you saw in Star Wars there were any black people in stormtrooper outfits.
Right.
Even though they were supposedly conscripted, they were no longer clones.
So are you
Fact-
saying that black people can't speak well
Nah.
enough to?
He's English, bro.
So
He's got a
how would
proper-
you how
he
would
has a
you know
proper
that they
accent.
were black just because they had a helmet on? How would you?
Well, how many black people did you see before Empire Strikes Back? Zero.
Well, you know.
Well, I mean, we could say.
Well,
the
you
sad
heard
people,
you
but-
heard James Earl Jones. He was black.
Yes,
Oh,
Darth
okay.
Vader. That's the man. but I'm just saying, people went bizarre. They went when I say they had a whole they went whole crazy. And that's the sad part is that when a black man can't even be a bad guy. He was a reformed stormtrooper. Don't get it twisted. But you can't even be a bad guy without catching hell. People and the reason why I didn't understand it coming from people who have been with Star Wars because how can you sit around here and be mad at diversity when your whole fantasy is drawn around a universe where there's diversity?
Right.
So a black man can steal your radio, but he can't be a bad
Let
guy.
me try to psychologically break that down for
Okay.
you. You have to understand white supremacy to really understand why they're upset. Their whole concept of being is to rule.
Right,
Right.
You get that, right?
right.
So even in the future, their mindset is that they have to rule and control everything.
Right. Even if they're ruling on the bad side.
Even if they're ruling on the bad side.
Right.
Okay? You got to realize Darth Vader was one of their favorite
But
characters.
probably one of the most favorite villains of all
Okay?
time.
Exactly.
Right.
So when you see that, you begin, if you understand white supremacy, you understand their vitriol, the fact that, oh, everybody in the future has to be white.
Right.
Because subconsciously they know in this world the majority of the people are actually brown skinned and black. So it's a psychological thing that you're dealing with. And as people of color begin to invade their universe,
Right.
their fantasies,
Uh-huh.
they become upset and offended by it. That's the whole thing about this Ariel thing.
Yeah. And that's my whole thing. And let's look at the geographic location of where the Last Mermaid is. Where's the geographic? It's in the Caribbean.
No.
What are the people who live in the Caribbean? What's their typical shade of color? Because they ain't white.
Well, have you ever heard of Mommy Water?
Mommy Walker?
Water.
No.
Okay, it's spelled M-A-M-I.
I thought you were going to say Mama Walter. But, okay, go ahead.
W-T-A. Now, excuse me, W-A-T-A.
Mm-hmm.
Mommy Wata is a mermaid that was worshipped and talked about 10,000 years ago in Ghana. You get that, right?
Ghana. Africa.
Right.
Right.
So there are, in fact, I posted on my wall statues, pictures of Mommy Wata, who was a mermaid that was created in African folklore 10,000 years before white folks even walked upright. Okay? So any white folks that's claiming
Right.
a mermaid,
Right.
well, in actuality, that came from Africa. That's just the bottom line on that. Okay?
Okay.
And there are plenty of artifacts to show that, plenty of stories to talk about it. And she was considered beautiful. In fact, if you remember Homer and the Odyssey,
Right, the Odyssey.
the sirens were actually parroted after Mommy Water. Poseidon, who is a fish man, a
The
male
god,
mermaid,
right. The god of the sea.
the god of the sea, was actually patterned after Mommy Wata, or who the Greek, where that came from Homer and the Greeks. By the way, I hate to tell y'all that, but that never really happened. Anyway, but the point being is, I laugh at the ignorance of people, particularly white people, when you have the internet, because just about, I talked about the story that same day where the Swedes are upset because genealogists have proven that they actually evolved from blue-eyed black people.
God.
Oops. You know,
Swedes are upset.
they're upset.
The Swedes.
I mean, by the way, I posted that
that's
story.
why. That's why ASAP Rocky catching hell up there right
You
about
know.
now.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is this, that this argument about Halle Bailey playing this young lady,
Right.
all you got to do is do a little research. And what this animus is about is, again, their fear of being replaced.
Yeah.
That's what this is about, guys.
Hold on, but
It's
but
their
okay,
fear of
but
being
hold on,
replaced.
Hold on. How you gonna get okay? Black folks have had our culture appropriated by white people for at least in media for the last 100 years, right? Okay. Cleopatra played by Elizabeth Taylor.
Elizabeth Taylor, Charleston Heston played Moses,
Played Moses.
right?
Right.
Damn dirty apes. Heston played Moses. Hold on, wait a minute. Jeffrey Hunter played Jesus. Max von Sydow played Jesus. Max von Sydow played a man that's a Hebrew. Von Sydow.
But here's the brother who they had the 9/11 movie,
Right.
and there's a scene in there where a guy rushes into the tower.
Right.
He's a white guy. In real life he's black. Did y'all know that?
No, I didn't know that.
No, see,
Yeah.
are you surprised?
I didn't watch 9/11, but from what I understand, I talked about this the other day on the show. Y'all really need to start with listening to
I
Black
can
folks.
only listen on certain.
You,
I
you
got
know,
to work, man.
you know, well, you need to take a couple hour breaks.
Okay.
But no, I'm just saying, here was a black man who, in real life, rushed into a tower to save people and lost his life. Yet when they made the movie,
They took him out and put
They
a
put a
white
whiteboard
so
in.
he could look heroic.
exactly.
See what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know Dave. This ain't one of Dave's favorite people, but that's why they trying to erase everything they doing with Barack Obama. Because see, Sambo Sir.
Well, they say in Hollywood that the movies don't sell unless you have a white savior. It's like you need a white savior.
But see, okay, let's go there because see now we got to get into a political bit. But see, that's my argument though, is that look at what happens, and our people we're also complicit with this. I understand people got their gripes with President Barack Obama when he was in office. I know people, oh, he did this for these people, he didn't do a lot for black. Okay, but they try to erase even any type of legacy that he did via Trump. And then now all of a sudden, when the economy is a continuation of his policies, now all of a sudden we got a new savior. Savior couldn't be black. Savior got to be white now.
Again, white supremacy.
Right. And then, but see, the bad part about it is you got black people playing right into it too.
Again, white supremacy.
Did I tell you about the miseducation of the Negro?
That's exactly it. They are look.
Oh,
They
we
are.
can't expect Barack Obama to say, "Oh, but now Trump can say it."
They are affected by white supremacy just like white people are. Look, Harriet Tubman said what? I freed a lot of slaves, but I could have freed a
thousands more if they
thousands
just
more
known
if they'd
they
have
were
known they
slaves.
were slaves.
Right.
Therein lies the problem with what's going on with the black community today. You don't realize that you're being taken for a ride by Democrats and Republicans.
Right.
Right.
But you're good with that. You're good with that.
Yeah.
And until that changes, this is going to continue.
Yeah. But think about it though. Did things get that much better under Barack Obama? I mean, you had 8 years.
Look at it this way.
But if you look at the 2 years of Trump versus the 8 years of Obama, what has changed in 10 years though? Just
Nothing.
think about it.
Nothing. But let's put it like this: you got a little bit more money in your pocket.
Depends on
your
what
check.
socioeconomic.
Right,
background.
Right, depends on where you
at.
are. Where-
But look
yeah.
at what happened. Even with, let's just argue that now, the Dow is 27,000, blase, rah, ad nauseum. First of all, 50% of the over 50% don't even have an investment in the stock market.
Right.
So it don't affect. You can sit around here and tell me the stock market hit 30,000. If I ain't got stock in Amazon or Walmart, I'm talking about real stock. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about that stock where I can go out tomorrow. Head 7, Dave Deuces, bro. Devil's Advocate closed down. I'm going to be on the beach when y'all need to holler at me on the yacht. It don't affect me. You understand what I'm saying? So my whole thing about it is that you can sit around here and trumpet the stock market all you want to. My thing about it is black people, here's what we talk about the great outrage, the age of outrage. Black people can't even go out and live a normal. The hell with living your best life. You can't even go out and live your normal life without getting phone calls to the police. Go to the barbecue, you get calls by the police. You go get seen on the corner selling lemonade, they call the police. You sit around here and go to the Starbucks, they call the police. You understand what I'm saying? So even as much as you want to talk about, well, cops were getting away with this, and they still getting away with it in the Trump era. Okay, so my question is, how much better has it actually gotten on Trump? So this is what makes me mad when I hear black conservatives, or Sambo conservatives, I like to refer to them as, trumpet this. Because you've heard, I'm pretty sure, Dave, even you've heard this from some of the old schoolers. The only thing, boy, matter in this country is green. We done heard that, haven't we? Don't matter what color y'all, just the only thing matter in this country is green. That's a half-truth. That's a half-truth. Because here's the point. In Trump's new America, no matter what kind of car you drive, no matter how much money you got in your 401k, no matter what little house you can go out to Chanel and buy and live in a $500,000 house and impress your friends and put it on Facebook and sit around here and go, ooh, look at us, boy. We done moved on up like George and Wheezy, and we out here with the Joneses now. They still do not want you. They still people mad no matter what happens. You understand what I'm saying? There are people still mad no matter what happens and how good the economy does. So no matter how much money Trump throws at them, or how much money Trump gives them, or how much their portfolio goes up in their 401k, you'll never be equal to them no matter how much money he gives them. So that's where the failure of the Black Sambo conservative comes in. Well, the only thing matters is money. No, the only thing that isn't money. Also what matters is your skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, we talk about entitlements and this so-called socialism and all this stuff that people say, well, I'm not giving nobody nothing and blase this and blase that. The point of the matter is it's not about entitlements. If you think white people are against entitlements, let me tell you something. Take away Social Security and take away Medicaid and Medicare and watch them go storm the White House with pitchforks and torches. Okay? They're not against entitlements. They're against who they think deserve entitlements. So when we go back and we talk about this,
do farmers get subsidies?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that an entitlement?
Yes, it is. Did they get bailed out when Trump?
What about the banking system? Did they get bailed out? Was
did
that
the
an
auto industry
entitlement?
get it?
Yep.
What about the auto industry?
Yeah.
So you're right. So
They always ignore
by
that.
the way, that guy named I was finding his name.
Okay.
His name is Jason Thomas.
Jason Thomas.
He was the 911 hero who rushed into the falling building to save others. And when they made the movie,
Never heard of him.
he ended up being a white guy in the movie. One other quick note: despite being considered an adaptation of the Western Mermaid, Mummy Walter is a deity that has existed in Africa for as long as African history and culture can recollect.
Couldn't recollect.
The half fish, half human female spirit is highly respected, feared, and worshipped, presenting a balance between dark, divine, mysterious, and angelic existence. The deity is believed to be a woman with a half human and half fish appearance, with the ability to transform wholly into any form of her choice.
Oh, she bad.
So, white people, where did y'all get Little Mermaid from? I rest my case.
But then again, why are you mad about a geographically inept description? Look at what they did with. Remember that? I don't know if you saw that movie. It came out about 6 years ago. It was Gods of Egypt.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother to watch it.
Me
All I
neither.
had to do was look at who they cast in it.
All white people.
All white people. And look, nobody's arguing that. Look, if you want to do Braveheart, by all means, don't put Idris Elba in it. You know what I'm saying? Don't put him in it. You know what I'm saying? By all means, you want to do Braveheart, and they're getting ready to do a sequel to that. In case you didn't know. If you want to do those movies, if you want to do movies about the IRA,
Another movie about white violence.
see what I'm saying? You're just not going. If you want to do Robin Hood, if you want to do those movies, just make it. See, this is the problem. And then they sit around here and they go, okay, and let's talk a little bit about Egypt. And I'm pretty sure Dave will back me up on this. When we talk about ancient Egypt, okay, ancient Egypt, if you look at those pharaohs, or pharaohs as they call them, let me do the proper emphasis, the pharaohs were African. Nubian. Nubia, Sudan, Africa. So when they broke the noses off them, right, so they could hide what people look like. What's going on, Orson? When they broke the noses off the pharaohs so they could kind of hide the thing, if you look at King Tut, Tutankhamun, his features are clearly African, black African. It was the Ptolemy and the Alexander influence that came into Egypt that kind of made them more fair-skinned. The Egyptians that you see now in ancient Egypt were not the ancient Egyptians of old. That came with the Islamic upheaval into Egypt in the early Middle Ages. Am I wrong, Dave? Or am I telling you?
No, you're exactly right. Egypt developed out of Sub-Sahara.
Right, developed out of Sub-Sahara.
And
right.
I was talking about this the other day as well. You have been listening to the show.
See, I do my homework.
A lot of people don't realize there are more pyramids in Sudan
than there are in Egypt.
Because that's where actually civilization developed through and from.
Right.
It's in the sub-Saharan culture, and you're exactly right. It was the influence of the Greeks, led by Alexander the Great,
Right.
who stole plenty of information,
Right.
that you begin to see the whitening of Egypt.
Right.
At one point, they had a lot of y'all believing that Egypt wasn't even in Africa.
Yeah, they try to.
You know,
they keep
try
trying
to
to
do like
separate it.
Egypt. They try to do like Egypt,
Right.
and then they do Africa.
They,
You know what
Exactly.
I'm
they call it
So-
sub-Sahara
I
in
like-
Africa.
But again, that's white supremacy.
Right.
At its best, trying to claim, and I mean, I post all this stuff on my wall as well, trying to claim something that they didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you really go back and look at their history, what did they have? I'm just being real. I ain't trying to be mean. What did they have?
There was no history really in Europe until
yeah.
the Middle Ages, to the Dark
Right.
Ages, really. And
Yeah,
then,
I mean-
Africa had a flourishing history.
You want to say Grecian philosophy? Well,
Right.
Grecian philosophy was African philosophy.
pretty much.
They went in and stole all of
And then it
all
basically
of that.
went from Greek over to the Romans.
Exactly.
You know,
So,
I mean, that's why they're so common. I mean, that's why.
so you're seeing this because, and I tell people all the time, the worst thing that could have happened to white people was the internet. And I'll tell you why. Because when I started doing all this research, I had to go and buy books. I had to go to the library, check it out for 2 weeks, bring it back, all that crazy stuff, get book finds, and you name it. Or just go get on the mimeograph machine, if y'all don't remember what that is.
Are you telling your age, Dave?
I'm telling my
Okay,
age.
telling your
We
age.
call it they call them copiers and scanners now. We called it the mimeograph machine back
Okay.
then. But now all you got to do is African culture.
Yeah.
Mommy Wada. Toot. Oh, really?
Yeah. But you got to be careful because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet.
I would agree with that.
Right.
But when you as it relates to a lot of history,
Right.
I mean, it's there.
Yeah, it's there.
That's my point. And I think
Americans just
it's
lazy. We just
it's
lazy.
it's
is what
frustrated. Well, it's not that they're lazy. They've been lulled into a false sense of what they really were through white supremacy, because white supremacy has always told us that we are we're white people and we're the best. We created everything.
Right.
And then when you go back and look at it, and here's Dr. John Henry Clark, to control the people, you must first control what they think about themselves and how they regard their history and culture. Once they've been made ashamed of themselves and culture, you no longer need change to hold them.
Right.
You see? So that's what they've been doing. One other point here is ancient Egypt, Queen Namet. Queen Namet from Kemet. Okay, that's ancient Egypt. Okay,
Right.
They found her, and there's a picture of this on my wall too. Y'all can look at this. Just take a quick gander at this and look at her hair. Look at this, Jay. Seriously, take a quick gander. Look at her hair.
Oh, she got dreadlocks.
Look at her hair. Can you see
She
it?
got locks.
Look at her hair. Okay, so how is it that that's black woman's hair right there?
That black woman's her.
Okay,
That's her.
now that's Kemet. That's not Egypt.
Right.
This was before Egypt. Probably, I want to say, at least 1,000 years before Egypt and the pyramids. Okay, she came from Sub-Sahara.
Right.
How is it that her hair is black? How she got them braids? But again, we can take the internet and,
Right.
and research and find
Okay.
things. The problem with black people is that we don't.
Cool.
We don't.
I'm gonna get back his Facebook jail as soon as I get out. When I get on my,
I'm just saying.
But just understand, I'm going
But
back.
black people ain't really. I mean, black people are. I think it's a small amount that do research history, because you see films like Hidden Colors that's popular. Certain black history movies. That's,
Okay. But,
So-
but that's the problem. See,
Yeah.
here's my issue.
They
Don't
probably
get me
just
wrong.
don't know where to look. Though.
Well, my issue with woke folk, and I have a small issue with them, is because sometimes we can be too woke for our own good. We can be asleep with our eyes wide shut. Woke folk get to the point that there's good. Some things I think is good to tear the system down in, and then I think some things, like, okay, we got an election coming up next year, right? So, like Dave says, we have so many times we're trying to, we got two sides right now. We don't have an independent party. And see, here's why I get mad with black folk. Black folk want to get out here, and instead of them saying, okay, we don't like Dave said, Democrats and Republicans, basically, I'm a registered independent voter. But I vote for the party that goes with my progressive beliefs. But just because I consider myself progressive doesn't mean I'm not conservative about certain things. right? And that's the problem in this country. Is everybody wants to be. They want to be in a gang. They want to be the this or they want to be that. So when you have black people that sit around here with this walk away and this Brexit movement, these woke folk, they claim they woke now. You see what I'm saying? They woke. They woke, and they're walking off the Democratic plantation. The issue I got with it is, instead of you saying, well, you know what, let's just be real. The modern day Republican Party is now the modern day Dixiecrat Party, right? They haven't done anything for us. They haven't shown us anything in decades. They put up these token black folks in their party to make us think that they're trying to do something for us, which they're not. They got all these white people that come in and infiltrate. And see, that's what I laugh at. When I see these so-called black folks who are woke, when you go and look on their personal profile pages on Facebook, ain't none but white folks as friends. But you woke. But you still sitting around here catering to people who, one, you're not part of the Make America Great game plan. Number two, you sitting around here catering to people who, one, who'd rather have you back in chains. When you sit around and say, hey, what about our reputation? They flick you the middle finger. But then you want to call yourself being woke. But you woke. So instead of them saying, hey, black folk, let's go out here and we're going to say to hell with both of these parties, right? We're going to put our resources and we're going to get us like-minded allies, you know, who might be Hispanic, who might be this, who are tired of both parties also, right? And we're going to start our own independent party, right? And if either of these two parties want to sit around here and keep going with the same rhetoric, doing the same BS and doing the same everything else, we're just going to sit around and say, guess what? There ain't going to be no election. We ain't going to be any clear winner because we're just going to hold our votes. We're not going to vote. We're going to vote for our own candidate that supports our interests. Woke folk want to go right on over here and kiss up to Trump. So that's why I got a problem. You sit around here and talk about you leaving one plantation, you're going right back to a worse one. When you got one plantation that you still a slave on it, but they give you food, right? And then you get to another plantation that won't even give you food. They doing like they did in that movie with Nat Turner, where they knocking your teeth out and then shoving the food down your throat. Okay, so this is why I have an issue. This is why I have an issue with the outrage of black folks, and black folks in particular. But then they don't never say nothing when these so-called good, so-called conservatives sit around here and make groups like Christians Against Ariel being played by Halle Bailey. You see what I'm saying? They got nothing to say. Quiet. What's wrong with them, David? Something going on at home? What's wrong with them?
Well, I mean, some of those are the people that have made it. You know, they don't want other people to make it. That's the bottom line on that.
But that's my
But to
point.
them, in their minds, they've got that house in Chenal or wherever that fancy neighborhood
they
is.
fancy now.
They've got that, you know, and I'm reminded of a quote by Malcolm X as you talk about luxuries. Malcolm X says racism is like a Cadillac. You know, they come out with a new model every year.
Right.
You know, I love Malcolm because Malcolm, he almost speaks to us today from the grave.
Right, he speaks to us great. He was ahead of his time.
And so you have black people who have made it, who, I mean, you see that within the Hispanic community. There are a lot of Hispanics don't want those people at the border.
They hate their own people.
They don't want them here because they want to be, I'm better than you.
Right.
But again, that's what white supremacy does to you.
Right, that's racism
You know.
mixed with placism.
Right,
we
right.
don't mind them. We don't want them coming in because then that knocks us off our pedestal. See
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We getting all the good jobs. We get, and I mean, you see it with the Cuban population. They the worst.
Exactly.
They the worst. They come into Florida. They sit around and talk about y'all don't know what socialism is, and then they sit around trying to talk about socialism. Going, we lived under Fidel Castro. We know better than anybody what socialism is. Then they come over here and then they buy into this conservative narrative of what democratic socialism is, and they try to align the two like they know what they're talking about. Because you know why they come over to South Florida, and you know if you know anything about South Florida, when you go out there and those gated communities, very nice, very big money. Okay, so now they got their spot now. So they don't want the quote-unquote dregs coming in. It's an old argument of the oppressed now become the oppressor. You see what I'm saying? And the same thing when you see a lot of Hispanics on the border in Texas. They sit around here and talk about, well, I don't like them. They coming across the border. Oh, they up here. And let's just be real. Colonizers ain't got no reason to speak about legal immigration, period. Oh, well, I don't know nothing about slavery. That's why I'm not giving everybody. My people came here in Ellis Island. Oh, you mean they signed a book? That's how they came in here. And let's just be real about the history of this country. America didn't want people, even white people, coming in from certain parts, the Know Nothing Party. They didn't want people from certain groups in Europe coming in here. Because you know why? What's up, Courtney? Happy birthday, bro. They didn't want them coming in because they thought that those people coming in, they didn't want the Irish. They wanted to limit people from Ireland coming in. They considered them the Gregs of white society. They didn't want people from Italy and those areas coming in. You know why? I mean, you want me to give you? I give you 3 guesses and 2 don't count. The reason why they didn't want Italians coming in because Italians have been said to have been infiltrated by Moors in Spain. They didn't want the Spanish coming in. You know what I'm saying? Because they had been said they were not of pure blood, European blood. So they was like, oh, so they've been mixed with Moors, so they don't need to come in here. We want to limit that. You know what I'm saying? Because they would tell you, even and like I said, I do my research. Sicilians. So Sicily is a island off of where? Italy. But do you want to talk about who the Sicilians are mixed with? Moors. Moors as in Africans. They didn't want Sicilians coming. They would have let people from Italy come in before they let Sicilians come in. Because Sicilians, because of northern Italy, is like a totally geological culture than southern Italy. They didn't want Sicilians coming in because they were considered mixed Moor blood. So even in the history of this country, you see what I'm saying? There's always been, they didn't even want their own coming in. You see what I'm saying? So when people sit around here and talk about immigration this and immigration that, and now I'm hearing, you know, now the new narrative with the Sambo conservative is, oh, well, you know, they're trying to give immigrants everything and not giving us anything. Let me explain something to you. And we're going to say this to take a break right quick. Just because I don't sit around here and I don't have a college degree, you understand what I'm saying? Doesn't mean that I don't have a right to advocate for people that are trying to get their college degree who have been locked out of getting and continuing their education. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? In other words, their argument is, and this is Sambo conservatives, is that, well, black folks haven't gotten all their rights yet, so who are we to advocate for other people who come in here and take our jobs? First of all, just shut up. You ain't going outside and you ain't picking fruit 16 hours a day for $5 an hour. Okay? That's the thing that upsets me the most when I hear people now in this country have gotten so upset. They think that a person from a third world country that's uneducated can come and outperform them here. That's what we think. We sitting around here mad because I'm gonna tell you now, black folks, we worked on the fields for 250 years, right? At least. In legalized chattel slavery. How many black folks you know gonna get out here and pick grapes and oranges in 100-degree weather in the fields in Arkansas for $5 an hour? For 16 hours a day, and come home stinging to high heaven, and you up here crying about jobs that Hispanics are taking.
Right.
Illegal. Well, I'm not gonna say Hispanics. I'm gonna say illegal immigrants. Because any black folks want to sign up for that job, let me know. I can probably go and get you hooked up. While you up here complaining about jobs being taken from black communities. Black folks, we done had it good now in the last quote unquote 50 years. We don't believe in being outside without air conditioning. We done stopped driving American-made cars. Okay, we sitting around here. We want to live a good life, but then we want to down people that want to come here and work on the scraps that we used to work 250 years ago. What's the problem? What's the problem? And that's the problem. Again, Dave, when you talk about white supremacy, in order for white supremacy to exist and continue and flourish, you always got to have a person that's willing to be on the bottom rung. That you can point down to and say, hey, I tell you what, I'm black, but I'm sure glad I'm not him.
Yeah, but, you know, black people can try to say that. But, I mean, when you look at the Hispanic population, their growth, their economic power, we need to shut up.
Thank you.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Right.
I mean, right now, do y'all know what the #1 media station is in America?
It's, it's the...
It's Univision.
Univision. That's what I couldn't get the name.
Okay.
There you go.
Univision, not NBC,
Yep.
not ABC,
Nope.
not CBS. It's Univision. That's Hispanic owned. You turn on that station, if you don't speak Spanish,
you ain't
good luck.
You're going to be lost.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay? So they have their own television stations.
Right.
They have their own economic empire.
Right.
What does black people have?
No, we had
Okay.
BET until the coon from
That
BET
wasn't
decided-
ours.
Right, it wasn't ours. It ain't no more for sure.
But now I understand that there's supposed to be a 24-hour news black station getting ready to start. But my point
we
being
behind the curve.
is
on
that you can look down your nose and look. This is why I tell people all the time. Don't take this the wrong way, but I'm not carrying water for nobody but black folks. I'm not fighting for LGBT. I'm not fighting for women. I'm not fighting for Hispanics, Asians, nobody. If it ain't black, I ain't fighting for it.
You ain't
because
fighting for it.
we've been fighting too long, and everybody has come over here and they're taking advantage of our hustle, our strife. I mean, you go back and you look at you go back into the 60s and look at some of that film. Where were those Hispanic people?
They were trying to get their piece of the pie back then.
Well, where were those Asian people that now benefit from the fight that we had in the 60s?
Right.
They're nowhere to be seen. So, look, we don't carry water for enough people. Y'all get mad at me all you want.
We don't have to. But my point is,
I'm not carrying water for
black
nobody.
people
If it ain't black,
got to get
I ain't
up
supporting
and
it.
do.
Right.
And stop talking
That's my
about
point.
other people. Stop talking about what other people doing and get up and do. Look, black people had Black Wall Street 100 years ago. White folk took it from us. We had Rosewood. We had all these areas where black people had wealth, right? And let's be real. I heard a brother of mine today on social media talk about Barack Obama did more damage to this country than he did good. And I just kind of had to,
yeah, that's
crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
okay, I had to kind of let my eyes cross a little bit, because, I mean, it just, takes my breath away when I hear stuff like that. But the truth about it is, when you look at the thing, and I think Dr. King kind of got a little smarter as he got into his thing when he talked about the burning house. Because here was the problem. Dr. King was so busy trying to get us integrated, he forgot about equality. You have to get equality before you integrate. Because what you end up doing is, when you integrate, you end up integrating as a second-class citizen.
But no, he forgot about economics.
Yeah, economic. Well, he was working on that when they shot him. That's when they started plotting on him heavily, when he started working for
He had an idea of how to use it,
right,
because he used it as the bus boycott.
Right.
But he should have taken it, well, not just him, but all the other leaders at that time.
Right.
They thought that, hey, if we can just sit down and eat beside them, they'll show that'll prove to them that we're good people and they'll like us. Not understanding racism and white supremacy.
Right, but ain't that what I
Okay.
said today about you can get a car with them, you can sit around, let me tell you something, you can make the Dow 50,000. You understand what I'm saying? You can sit around here and give white folk all this money and then have black folks who have come up with them, right, who invested in the stock market and made money. You can sit them right beside it, and they're going to still think that you the N-word. It doesn't matter how much money you make.
Well, I mean, you've seen the surveys of those
They'll
where they
smile
ask
with you, though.
ask them white folks, would you trade places? Who would you trade if you had an opportunity to trade places with a black person? Who would it be?
Right.
And the studies that I've seen over the years, every one of the white people that they asked said no one. And and they even said, well, what about someone like Michael Jordan? Nope.
Gosh.
And you know what the delimiting factor was?
What?
Because he's black.
Right. And Chris Rock said it 15 years ago. He said, ain't none of y'all going to trade places with me. And he said, I'm rich.
Right.
He said, y'all ain't going to trade places with me. Was he lying?
But that's white supremacy. Again, they understand how white supremacy have given them this privilege
But no, there's no such
through
thing as
this
white
day.
privilege. Let them tell it.
Yeah. Oh well. Of
them
course,
tell
they're
it.
not going to tell it. I mean, the epitome of that is what happened just this past week with the Senate leader Mitch McConnell, when it was
Don't let me get
discovered
started on him. Oh,
that
Lord.
his great grandfather owned slaves. That's the epitome of that.
And the
And
beautiful
then
thing is, if he had his wish, his great grandchildren would own slaves. If
right.
He had his
But the point being is, he even had the unmitigated gall to say that he and Barack Obama
like that's supposed to justify.
were descendant of slave owners.
Man, boy, bye.
But again, that's white privilege.
But see,
Right.
again, but Dave, again, that's that deceitful half truth. Like, which side on the slaves and but the white side or the black side? Because I think he's trying to argue it was the Kenyans on the slaves. That's what he's trying to say, or was it the white folks over there in Kansas?
It doesn't matter
But
what
that's
he's
my point,
trying
but
to
that's
say.
what he does. That's what he does.
For him, for a white man to make light of that, when just 4 generations ago, your people owned slaves. You know, it's typical white people, and here's what bothers me about black folks. And I'm gonna shut up, okay?
No, don't shut up.
Here's
We
what
need your
bothers
rest
me
of the show.
about black folks is that black folks are not getting this.
No.
You know, we can solve many of our own problems. Look, I'm looking at a story right now. More than half of Little Rock's violent crime happens in the 12th Street Division.
Wow.
Well, if you go through the 12th Street Division, what's over there?
Nothing.
Not a damn thing.
Nothing except a big
It's a
police
damn
station.
desert. So what do you expect?
Nothing but a damn police
You see what I'm
station.
saying?
Yeah.
So, but you know what a lot of black people said when they saw this story?
What?
See, I'm moving out of that
See, that's
neighborhood.
what I'm saying.
Okay, and you know what's going to happen? Exactly. You're going to move out of that neighborhood, and white folks are going to come in and
they're
buy
gonna
that
buy it
property
cheap, and
at
they're gonna
at
re-renovate it,
reduced
just like they do
rate,
Quapaw.
and then you're going to be mad, and you're going to be hollering about gentrification.
Yep.
Not understanding that you ought to be going to your city leaders and raising hell with them and saying, hey, we need something in this neighborhood
Yep.
that can put people to work.
Yep.
Okay?
Now, weren't they talking about a Trader Joe's in over there?
That's white supremacy. That Trader Joe's is actually going to be out on
Out there.
out where the Toys R Us used to be.
Out in the white folk
Chanel.
area. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See?
So, but again, that's how white supremacy
That's how it
works.
goes.
Yeah.
Remember, it can fool you into believing one thing while it's robbing you blind, and that's what it does
They
to us
win the
every day.
narrative war
And people here in
every
Little Rock,
time.
I am stunned at how infected they are with white supremacy. I've lived in a lot of cities, and it affects a lot of different people, a lot of people. But I'm gonna tell you,
What's up, Art? How
the
you doing?
infectious rate here in Little Rock
Yeah.
is
Oh,
unbelievable.
the coon is real here. The coon
It's
is real.
unbelievable.
It's real here.
Dang.
And I hate to say it, the coon is prevalent in the north. It's definitely prevalent down south because black people down south have always had to bite their tongue and shut up and sit back.
Yeah. Thing about Charlotte though, it got a lot of black people in government. It's
In
like
government.
yes.
Are they doing it, making a difference?
Y-
I mean, I heard
yeah,
North
you got-
Carolina is really trying to get out there.
You got the progressive blacks in there. You know, you got a lot of black economics there too. So it's moving upward. You know, you got a lot, but you still got some blacks being left behind because gentrification coming too
Yeah.
throughout Charlotte.
Right,
But
right.
and it's mixed though. The people that's doing the gentrification, some of them are black and some of them are white. So it's a mixture
Right.
of both.
And here's my issue again when we talk about this. And I saw that and I looked at them like, boy, I didn't even want to comment on it when they said that the crime rate is 50% because there's nothing there. I mean,
Right.
I'm not even gonna lie, and I'm guilty of it myself. I can't even begin to tell you the last time I drove down 12th Street, and I live not that far from it.
Yeah.
Now I live in a mixed neighborhood. Dave hadn't had the luck. I tried to invite him over to Zion. He don't ever want to come. But when I do my parties, you know, you've been to my house, ASM. So my thing about it is that I can't even tell you the last time. But one thing I remember when you go down 12th Street, you can sure see that big, gigantic police substation, big substation sitting right in the middle of it. But you have no jobs over there. You have no economic development over there. You got
Well, they trying to get that when they were trying to get that Fair Park Center over there, that big old Fair Park
But
technology.
when you get to Fair Park, you pretty much getting out of 12th Street area per se. You
Oh,
see what I'm
okay.
saying?
Because
You
they
get over
they trying to
toward
put some
the
big
area.
technology area over there. They supposed to be buying up all them houses and putting some. Did y'all hear about that? This happened like 4 or 5 years ago. They was trying
Well,
to
they
get.
were supposed to be doing it, but
Right.
it hadn't happened. It's not going to happen. The police station was a $12 million boondoggle because they
okay.
were expecting to have other businesses in the police station.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And the bottom line is that, you know, capital investment is simply not happening with businesses, you know, and, you know, a lot of that has to do with the crime, obviously.
Right.
But more importantly, a lot of it has to do with you just simply don't have city leaders twisting arms of businesses in this city to make them relocate there. You say, well, how can you make a business locate in an area? Well, aren't they getting city tax breaks?
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I lived in Nashville when they built that stadium for the Titans. You know what? Titans said, hey, you build us a stadium, we'll come.
But hold on. Look at what they're doing in Southwest. They building it in Southwest. Look at them baseline.
Well, again,
All sorts of new businesses.
they
are
don't
being out.
want you in the city center.
Right.
You know, just like this area right over here has just been bought up. All of those black people that grew up over there, all that stuff is about to be gone. It's going to be a strip mall and all kinds of other stuff
Right.
over there that's called South of Main. But again, it's our fault because leaders are doing what you not telling them to do because guess what? Y'all woke, but y'all ain't voting.
Oh yeah, we woke, but we not voting.
You know.
Or we voting for the enemy. Because we woke. Or we obstinate and we don't want to vote because the enemy of the perfect has to be the good. So You know, I'm at the point now. The age of the fake outrage doesn't even fall with me anymore. You know, it's just that it's time to stop talking, and the only thing that means anything is bothering, is doing something. You know, like I said, you know, they were talking about Idris Elba. He was supposed to have been doing James Bond. That was who they were looking at the replacement. You know, people howling about that. You know. He was howling about doing James Bond, but, you know, he said something, and I'm so glad it was a fake article. They said that, you know, he never said he was backing out the deal. They said to put an article out that he backed out the deal because he didn't want to deal with the racism. But I remember when they posted Daniel Craig for the role. Everybody said he was too rough looking to even be James Bond. He didn't look debonair. People will get over it. People will deal with it. And my whole thing about it is he's an Englishman. Idris Elba is an Englishman. He has the accent, and I'm not gonna just getting off subject. It's amazing to me how English people can do American accents flawlessly.
Right, exactly.
They can lose their English accent in a movie in a heartbeat.
Yep.
But when you talk to them in an interview, their English accent comes back. Like,
and you be like, "Who is it?"
I'm like, is that the same person? I mean,
right.
Look at Tom Holland that plays Spider-Man. He's English. He's a little English guy, but he has a thick English accent. But when you go up here and watch his movies, you swear he's a typical American white kid. Yeah. So, you know, we need to stop. There's so much more stuff going on in this country than what people choose to be outraged about. And this is why I say in the ultimate grand rapid thing, being we got like 4 minutes left. We talk about the age of outrage. People need something to be outraged about. People need something to be mad about. And that's why I said, and I told people, why I see these black Kuna Matatas sitting around here, all right, well, the stock market doing good. People going to always find something to be outraged about. It doesn't matter how good things are. You understand what I'm saying? Or things are perceived to be. They're going to be mad about something. Okay? So, since people are going to be mad about something, why are you sitting around here trying to assume that being on them, and I agree with Dave, we have to get on a financial economic level where we can do for ourselves, supporting black business, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But until we do that and stop being mad about stuff and mad about stuff we shouldn't be mad about, they're going to be mad about stuff. They're going to be mad because they see 2050 coming. Let them deal with it.
No, don't give them extra years. 2042.
Well, I don't want to give them that much, but you know what I'm saying. We just give them a couple years.
And if we're lucky, it's about 2035.
We all gonna be beige. Mm-hmm. We all gonna be beige anyway. So head Sam, everybody fit in with you. You beige. You good and beige. Yeah. So everybody, I want to thank y'all for joining in. I'm sorry we didn't have. I should have ran Don't Malone thing, but he had to work today, and I want to thank everybody for joining us in. We'll be back next week. I have my crew here. Head Sam is running back to North Kakalaki. I want to thank Ed Sanford, my man Super Dave, of Now It's Coming Black Focus. And we will see you guys here next week, same bat time and same bat channel. Don't forget, if you can't stand the heat, stay out of Hell's Kitchen. Bye, folks.